The massive ships appeared at the edge of Earth's solar system, like dark clouds blocking out the stars. Captain Minjun Park stood in the command center watching the displays as more and more council vessels dropped out of hyperspace. Each ship was larger than anything humanity had ever built. The fleet that now surrounded their system could destroy entire worlds. "How many?" asked Dr. Sarah Chen as she entered the command center. Her face was pale, but calm. She had been Earth's chief diplomat with alien species for 10 years, but she had never seen anything like this. "Over 3,000 ships," Park replied. His voice stayed steady, even though his hands trembled slightly. "The largest fleet the Galaxy Council has ever assembled." The Council had ruled the galaxy for more than 10,000 years. 12 different alien species worked together to keep peace among the stars. They had technology that seemed like magic to humans. Their weapons could crack planets in half. Their shields could stop entire suns from burning. Humanity had joined the galactic community only 50 years ago. The aliens saw Earth as a dangerous world full of violent creatures. They called it a death world because so many deadly things lived there. Humans were the newest members of the galaxy, and most aliens thought they were primitive and stupid. The communication screen flickered to life. A massive reptilian face appeared, covered in green scales and showing rows of sharp teeth. This was War Prime Zarthek, the leader of the Council's military forces. His yellow eyes looked at the humans with disgust. "Creatures of the death world, Earth," Zarthek said. His voice was deep and threatening. "I speak for the Galaxy Council. You have spread too far and too fast across our galaxy. Your violent nature threatens the peace we have kept for thousands of years." Park and Chen exchanged glances. They had known this day might come. Humanity had been claiming new worlds and building colonies faster than any other species in galactic history. But they had followed all the rules. They had not attacked anyone or broken any treaties. "We have done nothing wrong," Chen said, stepping forward to face the screen. "Humanity has followed all galactic laws. We have the right to expand and build new homes." Zarthek laughed, a harsh sound like rocks grinding together. "Rights? You speak of rights? You are newcomers who barely understand how our galaxy works. The Council has decided that your expansion must end." The alien's image was replaced by a star map showing human colonies scattered across dozens of worlds. Red marks appeared over each one, pulsing like a heartbeat. "You have 72 hours," Zarthek continued. "Abandon every world you have claimed. Return to your death world and stay there. Submit to Council oversight and accept our guidance. If you refuse, we will destroy every human ship, every human base, and every human world, including Earth." The screen went dark. The command center fell silent, except for the soft humming of computers and life support systems. Everyone stared at the blank screen, processing what they had just heard. "They want us to give up everything," whispered Admiral Sofia Rodriguez as she entered the room. She had been listening to the transmission from her flagship in orbit. 50 years of work. Billions of people living on those worlds. They want us to just abandon it all. Park nodded slowly. "And if we refuse, they'll kill everyone." Chen looked at the tactical displays showing the Council fleet. "Maybe we should consider their offer. Look at what we're facing. 3,000 ships with technology far beyond ours. We have maybe 300 vessels in our entire fleet." "No," Park said quietly. "We can't do that." "Why not?" Chen asked. "If we surrender, at least humanity survives. If we fight, they'll wipe us out completely." Park walked to the window overlooking Earth. The blue and green world turned slowly below them, peaceful and beautiful. But he knew what lay beneath that peaceful appearance. Earth was indeed a death world. Storms that could level cities, volcanoes that could change the climate, earthquakes that could split continents. Animals that had evolved to be perfect killers. And humans had not just survived on this world, they had conquered it. Every other intelligent species in the galaxy came from safer, gentler worlds. They had never faced the constant threat of extinction that shaped every day of life on Earth. They made a mistake, Park said finally. They think we're weak because we're new. They think we'll surrender because every other species does when faced with overwhelming force. Won't we? Rodriguez asked. Park turned back to face the room. His eyes were hard now, showing the determination that had helped humanity spread across the galaxy so quickly. Admiral, please contact all fleet commanders. Tell them to implement Protocol 7. Rodriguez's eyes widened. Protocol 7 was the most classified military plan in human history. Only a few dozen people in the entire solar system knew it existed. Sir, are you sure? She asked. Dr. Chen, Park continued, ignoring the question. Please contact our colonies. Tell them to begin evacuation procedures for non-essential personnel. But military and critical infrastructure personnel stay. Chen stared at him. Minjun, you can't be serious. We can't fight the entire Galaxy Council. We're not going to fight them, Park said calmly. We're going to destroy them. That's impossible, Chen protested. Look at the numbers. Look at their technology. Park smiled, but it was not a happy expression. It was the smile of a predator that had just found prey. What do you think humans have been doing for the past 50 years? Do you think we've just been building farms and cities on those new worlds? The truth began to dawn on Chen's face. You've been preparing for war. We've been preparing for survival, Park corrected. The moment we met the Galaxy Council, we knew this day would come. They fear us because we're different. They fear us because we come from a world that tried to kill us every single day, and we're still here. Rodriguez nodded slowly. All those mining operations in the asteroid belt. All those research stations around the outer planets. They weren't what they seemed to be. TPR. The Council thinks they know everything about human military capability, Park said. They're about to learn they know nothing at all. He turned back to the window, looking out at Earth one more time. His home world. The death world that had created humanity. The world that the Galaxy Council had just threatened to destroy. Send a message to War Prime Zarthek, Park ordered. Tell him that humanity declines his generous offer. Tell him that if he wants our worlds, he's welcome to come and take them. The war for humanity's survival was about to begin. The asteroid mining station near Jupiter looked exactly like what it was supposed to be. Large machines moved slowly across the rocky surface, cutting away valuable metals and rare elements. Ships came and went, carrying cargo to Earth and the outer colonies. To anyone watching, it appeared to be nothing more than an industrial facility. Inside the station, Captain Minjun Park watched as the walls slid away to reveal rows of weapons that had never appeared on any official records. Massive railguns that could punch holes through starship armor. Missile batteries loaded with warheads designed specifically to crack alien shield technology. Point defense systems that could track and destroy incoming projectiles at impossible speeds. How many stations like this do we have? Asked Dr. Sarah Chen. She stared at the weapons with a mixture of awe and horror. Every major asteroid in the belt has been converted. Admiral Rodriguez replied through the communication link. Every gas giant moon. Every research outpost. We've been building this defense network for 40 years. Chen shook her head. I had no idea. How did you hide it from the Council's intelligence services? Park smiled grimly. We didn't hide it. We built exactly what they expected us to build. Mining stations, research facilities, cargo ships. Everything functions exactly as advertised. The weapons systems are just additional features. On the tactical displays, red dots began appearing throughout the solar system. What had looked like empty space suddenly filled with signatures of human ships and installations. hidden bases in the comet clouds, weapons platforms disguised as communication satellites, an entire fleet of warships that had been pretending to be cargo vessels for decades. "The Council is moving," reported Lieutenant Kim from the sensor station. "Their advanced scouts are approaching Jupiter." Park nodded. "Begin Phase 1. Let them see what they expect to see." Across the solar system, human forces began a carefully planned deception. Ships that looked damaged fled toward the inner planets. Bases sent distress signals claiming they were under attack by their own defense systems. To the Council scouts, it appeared that the primitive human military was falling apart at the first sign of real opposition. On the Council flagship, War Prime Zarthek watched the reports with satisfaction. "As expected," he told his officers. "The Deathworlders break and run when faced with real military power. Begin the advance. We'll be drinking victory wine on Earth within the day." But not everyone on the Council fleet was so confident. Veltar, one of the insect-like alien strategists, studied the human response with growing concern. She had been analyzing human behavior for years, and something felt wrong about their retreat. "War Prime," Veltar said carefully. "The humans are withdrawing too efficiently. Their ships are moving in organized formations, not the random panic we would expect." Zarthek dismissed her concerns with a wave of his clawed hand. "You worry too much. These creatures are primitive. They lack the discipline for real military tactics." Meanwhile, on a hidden base deep within Saturn's rings, Dr. Chen was learning about another aspect of humanity's preparations. The base commander, Colonel Lee, led her through laboratories filled with weapons she couldn't identify. "We've been studying Council technology for 50 years, Lee explained. "Every piece of equipment they've sold us, every ship they've allowed us to examine, every sample of their materials. We know exactly how their shields work, how their armor is constructed, how their weapons function." "And?" Chen asked, though she was beginning to suspect the answer. "And we've designed countermeasures for all of it," Lee said proudly. "Their energy shields are useless against kinetic weapons fired at sufficient velocity. Their plasma weapons can't penetrate armor designed to handle Earth's most extreme environments. Their computers can't process attack patterns based on Death World survival tactics." Quote, "One ride. The videos." Quote, "Subscribe." Chen stared at a display showing Council ship designs with glowing weak points marked in red. "You've found ways to kill them. We've found ways to survive them," Lee corrected. "There's a difference. The Council thinks in terms of conquest and submission. They fight wars to force surrender, not to destroy enemies. They've never faced a species that fights for total survival." Back on the main command station, Park received reports from across the solar system. Human forces were moving into position, according to plans that had been rehearsed thousands of times. Every scenario had been considered, every contingency prepared for. "The Council fleet is passing Jupiter," reported Admiral Rodriguez. "They're moving in standard formation, maintaining communication protocols. They still think this is going to be a routine conquest." Park nodded. "How long until they reach the inner system?" 6 hours at current speed." "Good. That gives us time to prepare the final surprises." On the planet Mars, automated factories that had been producing mining equipment for decades suddenly switched to a different production line. Weapons that had been designed but never built began rolling off assembly lines. Ammunition that had existed only in computer simulations became reality. The Council had made their first mistake by underestimating humanity's willingness to fight. Their second mistake was giving humans time to prepare. But their biggest mistake was not understanding what kind of species they were threatening. Elder Korvash, the oldest member of the Council leadership, sat alone in his chambers, reviewing ancient records. He was one of the few beings alive who remembered the old warnings about Death World species. His ancestors had encountered such beings before, millions of years ago. The records spoke of worlds where life was a constant struggle against extinction, where every day brought new threats and every night might be the last. Species from such worlds developed differently than those from safer planets. They became adaptable, unpredictable, and absolutely ruthless when threatened. The ancient records had a specific warning about Death World species. They do not fight to win. They fight to survive. There is no victory against them, only mutual destruction. Korvash tried to contact War Prime Zarthek, but the communication was blocked. The military commander was too focused on his approaching victory to listen to warnings from dusty old records. On Earth, Captain Park stood in the Global Command Center watching as the final preparations fell into place. Weapons, systems that had never been tested in combat came online. Ships that had spent decades pretending to be harmless revealed their true nature. An entire civilization that had been hiding its strength prepared to show the galaxy what humans were really capable of. All stations report ready, Admiral Rodriguez announced. We're as prepared as we're ever going to be. Park looked at Dr. Chen, who had returned from her tour of the hidden facilities. Her face was pale but determined. Do you understand now why we can't surrender? He asked. Chen nodded slowly. If we surrender, we survive as slaves. If we fight, we survive as humans. Park finished. The Council made a choice when they threatened to destroy Earth. Now they'll live with the consequences of that choice. The first Council ships were entering the asteroid belt now, moving confidently toward what they thought would be an easy victory. They had no idea that they were flying into the most sophisticated trap in galactic history. War Prime Zarthek was about to learn why Earth was called a death world, and why the species that survived such places should never be cornered. War Prime Zarthek felt confident as his fleet moved through the asteroid belt toward the inner solar system. The human ships had fled before him like frightened animals. Their communications were filled with panic and confusion. Everything was proceeding exactly as he had predicted. Sensors detect human installations throughout the asteroid field, reported his tactical officer. They appear to be mining operations and research stations. Ignore them, Zarthek ordered. Primitive industrial facilities pose no threat to our fleet. Continue toward Earth. The first Council ships passed within range of the asteroid mining stations without incident. The installations looked exactly like what they were supposed to be. Workers in environmental suits moved across the surfaces. Mining equipment operated normally. Transport ships carried cargo between facilities. But Captain Minjun Park was watching from the hidden command center inside the largest asteroid. Wait until they're fully committed, he told his weapons officers. Let the entire advance fleet enter the belt before we reveal ourselves. Admiral Rodriguez monitored the tactical display from her flagship. Enemy fleet is now distributed throughout the asteroid field. Approximately 800 ships in the first wave. Perfect, Park replied. All stations, execute protocol. 7 Alpha. Across the asteroid belt, mining stations suddenly stopped mining. Research facilities stopped researching. The workers in environmental suits revealed themselves to be automated drones. And everywhere, weapon systems that had been hidden for decades came online. The first Council ship died before its crew realized they were under attack. A railgun slug, moving at 30% of light speed, punched through the ship's shields as if they were made of paper. The massive projectile tore through the vessel from bow to stern, leaving nothing but glowing debris. What was that? Zarthek demanded, as alarms sounded throughout his flagship. Unknown weapons fire from the asteroid installations, his tactical officer reported. We're detecting massive energy signatures throughout the belt. More Council ships began dying as human weapons opened fire from every direction. The installations that had looked harmless revealed rows of railguns, missile batteries, and energy weapons. But these weren't the plasma weapons and particle beams that dominated galactic warfare. These were kinetic weapons, chemical explosives, and technologies the Council had never encountered. Evasive maneuvers, Zarthek ordered. Return fire on those installations. The Council ships began shooting back with their plasma cannons and antimatter missiles. Their weapons struck the asteroid installations with enough force to vaporize entire cities. But the humans had built their bases inside solid rock, using the asteroids themselves as armor. The alien weapons carved deep craters in the rocky surfaces, but failed to reach the critical systems buried within. Meanwhile, human weapons continued their devastating barrage. Railgun slugs moving at incredible speeds ignored Council shields completely. Kinetic weapons didn't rely on energy fields that could be deflected or absorbed. They simply smashed through anything in their path with pure physical force. Shields are ineffective against their weapons, the tactical officer reported in growing panic. They're using some kind of mass driver technology. On the asteroid command center, Park watched as Council ships died one after another. Their shields are designed to stop energy weapons, he explained to Dr. Chen. But kinetic projectiles follow different rules of physics. A piece of metal moving fast enough will punch through any energy field. The Council fleet tried to adapt, spreading out to avoid concentrated fire and targeting the asteroid installations with their most powerful weapons. But the humans had prepared for this response too. As Council ships moved to attack the fixed installations, human warships that had been hiding among the asteroids revealed themselves. These weren't the cargo ships and research vessels the Council had been tracking. These were purpose-built warships designed specifically to fight alien fleets. They moved with incredible speed and agility, darting between asteroids and using the rocky debris as cover. Admiral Rodriguez commanded the hidden fleet from her flagship. All ships, engage at will. Use the environment to your advantage. Human ships attacked from unexpected angles, appearing from behind asteroids to fire devastating volleys before disappearing again. They used tactics that no galactic military had ever encountered, because no other species had learned warfare in an environment as hostile as Earth's solar system. On the Council flagship, Veltar studied the tactical displays with growing horror. War Prime. We need to withdraw immediately. This isn't a primitive defense. This is a sophisticated military trap. Zarthek refused to listen. Impossible. These creatures lack the technology to threaten us. Press the attack. Bring up the heavy destroyers. But as more Council ships entered the asteroid belt, the human response only intensified. Hidden weapon platforms revealed themselves throughout the field. Automated gun batteries emerged from camouflaged positions. Missile swarms launched from concealed launchers, filling space with thousands of warheads. The Council had brought energy shields and plasma weapons to fight humans who used rocks and metal moving at incredible speeds. They had brought sophisticated targeting systems to fight enemies who hid behind actual asteroids and attacked from impossible angles. They had brought the tactics of civilized galactic warfare to fight creatures who had learned combat in the most hostile environment in their solar system. Enemy casualties are mounting rapidly, reported Park's tactical officer. We've destroyed over 200 Council ships, with minimal losses on our side. But Park wasn't celebrating yet. This is just their advance force. The real fleet is still coming. And they'll adapt once they understand what they're facing. On the Council flagship, Elder Korvash finally managed to reach Warprime Zarthek through the communication system. You must withdraw immediately, the ancient alien insisted. I've found the records. These creatures are from a death world. They don't fight like civilized species. Nonsense, Zarthek replied, but his voice showed the first signs of uncertainty. No primitive species could cause this much damage to our fleet. They're not primitive, Korvash said urgently. They're survivors. Every day of their evolution was a fight against extinction. They've developed technologies and tactics we've never encountered because we've never needed them. Around them, more Council ships died as human weapons found their marks. The neat formation of the galactic fleet dissolved into chaos as ships tried to avoid the devastating kinetic bombardment. But everywhere they turned, more human weapons appeared from hiding places throughout the asteroid field. Dr. Chen watched the battle displays with mixed feelings. We're winning, she said to Park. But at what cost? We're destroying ships with thousands of crew members. Park's face was grim. They came here to commit genocide, Dr. Chen. They threatened to destroy every human world, including Earth. They made the choice to escalate this to total warfare. But surely some of them are just following orders. Some of them might be reasonable. Possibly, Park agreed. But not today. Today we show them what happens when you threaten humanity's survival. After this battle, maybe then we can talk about reasonable solutions. The first wave of the Council fleet was in full retreat now, those ships that could still move fleeing back toward the outer system. But Park knew this was just the beginning. The main Council fleet was still coming, and now they would know what to expect. Prepare for Phase 2, Park ordered. They'll be back with heavier weapons and better tactics, but we'll be ready for them. The asteroid belt fell quiet except for the glowing debris of destroyed Council ships. War Prime Zarthek had learned his first lesson about fighting humans, but the real battle was yet to come. War Prime Zarthek stared at the tactical display showing the wreckage of his advance fleet. Over 400 ships, destroyed in less than 2 hours. The survivors of his first wave limped back to the main fleet, carrying reports that seemed impossible to believe. They're using projectile weapons, reported Captain Dex Tar, one of the few officers to escape the asteroid belt alive. Solid metal moving at incredible speeds. Our shields can't stop them. Rever 1. The metal testivos. That's impossible, Zarthek insisted. Kinetic weapons are primitive technology. No civilized species has used them for thousands of years. These humans aren't civilized by our standards, Veltar said quietly. They fight like their ancestors did, millions of years ago. Like wild animals defending their territory. Elder Korvash had finally reached the flagship and stood before the War Council. His ancient face showed deep worry. I've been studying the old records, he said. Our ancestors encountered Deathworld species before. They learned to avoid them completely. Ende. Why? Demanded Zarthek. Because they don't fight to win territory or resources, Korvash explained. They fight for survival. There is no negotiation with them. No surrender that satisfies them. They will keep fighting until either they are dead or their enemies are dead. Zarthek waved a clawed hand dismissively. Superstition and ancient fears. We have the largest fleet in galactic history. We will overwhelm them with numbers. But the reports from the asteroid belt told a different story. The humans had turned their entire solar system into a fortress. Every piece of space debris was a potential weapon. Every asteroid could hide a military base. Every seemingly harmless installation could reveal devastating firepower. On Earth, Captain Park reviewed the battle reports with his staff. The first engagement went better than expected, he said. But they'll adapt. The next attack will be much harder to stop. Admiral Rodriguez nodded from her position aboard the flagship. Their remaining fleet still outnumbers us 10-1. And now they know about our kinetic weapons. That's fine, Park replied calmly. We're not done showing them what humans can do. Initiate Phase 2. Bring the Ghost Fleet online. Throughout the outer solar system, objects that had appeared to be derelict ships or abandoned space stations suddenly came to life. These were the Ghost Fleet, vessels that had been built to look destroyed or disabled, but were actually fully operational warships. They had been positioned along likely approach routes for decades, waiting for exactly this moment. The Council main fleet moved toward the inner system, expecting to face the fixed defenses that had destroyed their advance force. Instead, they found themselves under attack from directions they had thought were safe. The Ghost Fleet struck from behind and to the sides, catching the Council formation completely off guard. These human ships fought differently than anything in galactic military doctrine. Instead of forming battle lines and trading long-range fire, they attacked in small groups using hit-and-run tactics. They would appear from nowhere, strike hard at Council ships, then disappear before the aliens could respond effectively. Where are they coming from? Zarthek demanded, as another section of his fleet came under attack. Sensors detect ships emerging from the gas giant storms around Jupiter, his tactical officer reported. Others are hiding in the comet fields. Some appear to be using the solar wind itself as camouflage. The humans were using their knowledge of their own solar system as a weapon. They knew every hiding place, every gravitational anomaly, every natural phenomenon that could conceal a ship or confuse sensors. The Council fleet was fighting in an environment that humans had studied for centuries, but that was completely foreign to the aliens. Dr. Chen watched the battle from the command center with growing amazement. "How long have you been planning this?" she asked Park. "Since the day we first met an alien species," Park replied. "We knew that eventually someone would try to destroy us. Earth's history is full of powerful civilizations that conquered weaker ones. We decided we wouldn't be the weak ones." Human ships attacked with weapons the Council had never encountered. Instead of energy beams and exotic particles, they used missiles filled with molten metal, projectiles made from asteroid material, and warheads that scattered clouds of high-velocity debris. Every weapon was designed to bypass alien shields and armor. But the most devastating human tactic was psychological. Council ships would find themselves under attack from enemies they couldn't see or predict. Human vessels would appear to be destroyed, only to explode in the faces of Council ships that approached to confirm the kill. Rescue operations became death traps as damaged human ships revealed hidden weapons. "They're fighting like madmen," reported a Council ship captain. "They're sacrificing their own vessels to destroy ours. They show no regard for their own lives." This was what terrified the Council crews most. They were used to civilized warfare, where surrender was possible and prisoners were taken. But humans fought as if every battle might be their last, because for them, it might be. They were defending their home world and their species' right to exist. Veltar studied the tactical displays with growing dread. "War Prime, we need to withdraw and reconsider our approach. We're losing ships faster than we can count." "Impossible," Zarthek snarled. "We outnumber them. We have superior technology. We cannot be defeated by primitive Deathworlders." But even as he spoke, more Council ships died. The human Ghost Fleet had grown to hundreds of vessels, all attacking with coordination that seemed impossible. They moved like a school of fish or a flock of birds, responding to threats with perfect unity while maintaining individual unpredictability. On Earth, the Global Defense Council was preparing for the final phase of the battle. If the Council fleet reached the inner solar system, humanity would reveal its ultimate weapon. Not a superweapon or advanced technology, but something far more dangerous to a galactic civilization that had forgotten what real warfare looked like. "Are you sure about this?" Dr. Chen asked Park as she reviewed the plans for Phase 3. Park's face was stone-cold serious. "Dr. Chen, the Council came here to commit genocide. They want to exterminate our entire species. We're not going to defeat them with half measures and gentle tactics. But if we do this, we become the monsters they claim we are." "No," Park said quietly. "We become survivors. And sometimes survivors have to do terrible things to ensure their species continues to exist." The Council fleet was struggling now, caught between the asteroid belt defenses and the Ghost Fleet attacks. Ships that tried to retreat found human vessels blocking their escape routes. Ships that tried to advance faced concentrated fire from multiple directions. War Prime Zarthek realized he was facing something he had never encountered in thousands of years of military service. An enemy that fought without mercy, without restraint, and without any consideration for the rules of civilized warfare. Elder Korvash approached him one final time. "This is what the ancient records warned about," he said. "Death World species don't just fight to win. They fight to survive. And a species fighting for survival will do anything, sacrifice anything, destroy anything to ensure they continue to exist." Zarthek looked at the tactical display showing his fleet being systematically destroyed by enemies who should have been helpless before his superior numbers and technology. For the first time in his long military career, He felt something he had never experienced before. Fear. War Prime Zarthek made his final, fatal mistake when he ordered the planet-killer weapons to target Earth directly. "If we cannot conquer them, we will destroy their home world," he declared to his remaining fleet commanders. "That will end their resistance." The massive weapons charged their antimatter cores, preparing to crack Earth's crust and boil away its oceans. But Captain Min-jun Park had been waiting for exactly this moment. The instant Council sensors locked onto Earth itself, humanity stopped pretending to fight a civilized war. "They've targeted Earth," Admiral Rodriguez reported from her flagship. "Planet-killer weapons are charging." One quote. Park's voice was ice cold when he replied, "Then they've made their choice. All units, execute protocol. 7. Omega. No survivors." Across the solar system, the true human fleet revealed itself. Not hundreds of ships, but thousands. Vessels that had been hiding in the deepest parts of space, in the shadows of planets, inside the coronas of stars. Ships built in secret over 50 years of preparation. The entire industrial might of dozens of human worlds had been focused on this moment. The Ghost Fleet had been just the beginning. Now humanity unveiled the Storm Fleet. Vessels designed not to fight galactic warships, but to destroy them completely. These ships carried weapons that violated every treaty of civilized warfare. Weapons designed by a species that had learned survival on a world where everything tried to kill them. The first Council ships to die were hit by human swarm missiles, not single warheads, but clouds of thousands of independent projectiles that moved like living creatures. They flowed around Council shields like water, each missile seeking weak points in alien armor. When they found those weak points, they didn't just explode. They released nanoscale machines that began dismantling Council ships at the molecular level. "What are they doing to our vessels?" screamed a Council captain as his ship began dissolving around him. "They're not just destroying us," Veltar realized with horror. "They're recycling our ships to make more weapons." But the swarm missiles were just the beginning. Human ships launched kinetic bombardments using asteroids accelerated to incredible speeds. They deployed gravity mines that created artificial black holes. They released clouds of self-replicating hunter-killer drones that sought out Council ships like antibodies attacking an infection. War Prime Zarthek watched his fleet being systematically annihilated by technologies that seemed like nightmares. "This is impossible," he repeated again and again. "No species should possess such weapons." Elder Korvash had reached the flagship's bridge, his ancient face showing absolute despair. "They do possess them because they needed them," he said. "Every weapon they're using was developed to fight the threats on their own world. They've just scaled them up to fight us." The truth was becoming clear to the surviving Council forces. Humans hadn't developed military technology to conquer other species. They had developed it to survive their own planet. Earth was a world where viruses could wipe out entire ecosystems, where impact events could cause mass extinctions, where the very environment was constantly trying to eliminate life. Humans had spent millions of years developing tools to fight extinction itself. Now they were using those same tools against the Galaxy Council. Dr. Chen stood in the command center watching the complete destruction of the Council fleet with mixed feelings. "This is what we are," she said to Park. "This is what Earth created. A species that can't be stopped once we're threatened with extinction." Park nodded grimly. The Council made the same mistake that every threat to humanity has made. They assumed that because we're newer and smaller, we must be weaker. They forgot that Earth is a death world, and death worlds create survivors. Human ships were now hunting down individual Council vessels with mechanical precision. There was no mercy, no acceptance of surrender, no prisoners taken. Every Council ship that had entered the solar system would be destroyed. Every Council base that had supported the invasion would be eliminated. Every Council asset that could threaten humanity would cease to exist. "Please," Veltar transmitted on an open channel. We surrender. We yield. Call off your attack. The response came from Admiral Rodriguez. You came here to commit genocide. You threatened to destroy our home world and our entire species. There is no surrender from that. Redias. 1. Zarthek made one last desperate attempt to salvage the situation. We offer peace, he broadcast. We will leave your system and never return. The Council will recognize human independence. Captain Park's response was broadcast across the entire battlefield. You had the chance to offer peace 72 hours ago. You chose war instead. Now you face the consequences of that choice. The human fleet had grown beyond counting as more ships emerged from hiding places throughout the solar system. They moved with perfect coordination, like cells in a body fighting off a disease. Every human ship knew exactly what it had to do, and every human crew was willing to sacrifice everything to ensure their species survived. Elder Korvash transmitted a final message before his ship was destroyed. To any Council forces receiving this transmission, record our fate. We attacked a Death World species and threatened their home. They responded as Death World species always respond. With total warfare and complete victory, let our destruction serve as a warning to all who would threaten such beings. The battle lasted 18 hours. When it ended, nothing remained of the Galaxy Council fleet except glowing debris scattered throughout the solar system. 3,000 ships reduced to space dust. Hundreds of thousands of alien crew members dead. The largest military force in galactic history wiped from existence. Dr. Chen found Park standing at the observation deck, looking out at the wreckage of what had once been the Council fleet. Now we make sure the galaxy understands what happened here, Park replied. We send clear messages to every Council world, every member species, every government that might think about threatening humanity. The human fleet began moving beyond the solar system for the first time in an offensive capacity. They followed the Council retreat routes back to staging areas and supply bases. Any installation that had supported the attack on Earth was systematically destroyed. The message was simple and clear. Threatening humanity's home world had consequences. Veltar managed to escape in a damaged ship, one of the few Council survivors. She carried the news back to Council space, where panic spread among the member species. The organization that had ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years had been completely defeated by a species they had considered primitive. The galaxy learned new lessons that day. Earth was indeed a death world, and species from death worlds should never be underestimated. Humans were not violent because they were evil or primitive. They were effective at violence because their world had taught them that survival required the ability to destroy anything that threatened their existence. Captain Park sent a final message to the remaining Council governments. Humanity offers peace to all who respect our independence and our right to exist. We do not seek conquest or domination, but any threat to our survival will be met with total war. The Council sent a threat to Earth. Earth responded. Nothing of their fleet survived. Let this serve as a lesson to all who would repeat their mistake. The age of Council dominance was over. The age of human independence had begun. And the galaxy would never again make the mistake of threatening the survivors of a death world.